Holy sh!
We would be honored if you would join us.
Hey everyone, how are you all doing? Finally, we have a new trailer or sizzle reel or D23 extra shots, whatever you want to call it. This one's going to be pretty in-depth, and if you didn't join me for the live stream, then you're going to enjoy this one because it's going to be very concise and to the point. So, we start the trailer with Star Wars, the very first movie back in 1977 that started this all. Luke stares off into the Binary Suns, which I covered in a video, is actually George Lucas's favorite scene in all of Star Wars. He said that this scene to him reminded him of himself, where he stares off into the horizon, wondering where he's going to go next on his journey and projects. As we go through the different scenes of Episode 4, Luke, Obi-Wan, the Falcon, Leia, Han, 3PO, R2 on the Tantive 4, which is where we see Vader for the first time, connecting Rogue One to it seamlessly. Then we jump to the celebration, moving right into Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. The walkers on Hoth, Vader, Boba, Han, Leia, and Chewie, I Am Your Father scene with Luke and Vader, Yoda moving the X-Wing, Sidious with the infamous Luke vs. Vader duel from Return of the Jedi, Lando celebrating, the Falcon leaving the Death Star, Luke looking out as his older voice starts to speak, saying from Episode 9 that we've passed down all we know, mentioning that he's talking about every single character that we are shown from all the episodes before in the prequels and originals. Now we jump to Episode 1, Darth Maul, Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon, little Annie and his mother Shmi, then Anakin and Padme from Episode 2, the start of the Clone Wars, Episode 3, Mace and Palpatine, Vader burned, then the rise of the Galactic Empire, and finally we move on to the sequel trilogy to encapsulate it all. As we see various scenes from Episode 7 and 8 with Rey, Kylo, Vader's helmet, the two touching, showing their connection in some shape or form. And this is very important, I want you all to pay very close attention to this. We see scenes of connection, all the different pieces of connection from the sequels. We see Rey and Kylo, we see Kylo and his father, we see Rey and Finn, we see Luke and Leia. All these have one thing in common, it's that they are connecting with one another. And I think this will be a very big theme in Episode 9. We then see the crew, finally, Episode 9 footage, standing on a hill, or the high ground, overlooking what I think is Pasaana, and they seem very tired and reluctant if we look at Poe's expression, that they've found what they've been looking for, salvation, or perhaps this village, or these people, or someone in the village that they've been tracking. Maybe they were sent here by Maz Kanata, who knows? Or maybe it's the end of the film, where they're all celebrating like, we had in Return of the Jedi, but I really highly doubt that. Leia looking at Rey or someone, then we get the rebellion ships coming out of hyperspace. We see X-Wings, Y-Wing bombers, and the Tantive 4, which is kind of cool to see. Then we have a giant fleet of Superstar Destroyers. I counted like 250 at least just in this frame, so who knows how many more there really are. It's obvious that Palpatine is behind all of this, at least I'm thinking, seeing as how those ships were iconic to the time of the Galactic Empire and Sidious's rule over the galaxy. Then we see Finn and a new character named Janna. This is most likely Lando's daughter, in my opinion. That's what I think who I think she is. They're looking off into the distance out of the cockpit in shock as someone pilots it. Then we get evil 3PO. Now, the only time that we have seen a protocol droid with red eyes, or at least the most iconic time, is in the comics, and his name is 000. He's literally just the evil version of 3PO, an evil protocol droid with red eyes. And what I think would happen here is that 3PO is now a Sith Lord and will end the entire Skywalker saga with laser eyes. No, he probably just got a new program installed either on purpose or by accident, or maybe he upgraded his circuits to be a lethal machine. I don't know, I guess we'll have to wait and see. This is not the first time that we saw him like this, mind you, remember Episode 2? He looks like he's waking up and taking hold of his new form. Then we have what I originally thought was maybe a new Death Star type of weapon, but now that I think about it more, and during the live stream, you all kind of brought it to my attention, it could very well be just the laser cannon from a Superstar Destroyer. Now, while we've seen them to be green, typically, maybe they're now red, who knows? Or maybe it is a new Death Star. The surroundings and climate seem to be the same as the Superstar Destroyer fleet scene, so it's probably just the cannons positioned on its underside, just wreaking havoc on a planet. We then finally, in my theory at least, get Rey training with a training droid. This is the same type of droid we saw in Episode 4, where Obi-Wan was training Luke on how to use a lightsaber in the Falcon. I think JJ knows that we want to see Rey train hard and master her skills with a lightsaber, so we can see her do that here, and she's using my favorite move, which is to force throw the saber and have it return to you. We saw Vader do this against Luke, we've seen it in the Clone Wars, we've seen it in the Jedi Academy games, and now we see it with Rey. Her hand is cut, and I'm assuming, that's why she's wearing a red scarf over it. I think she's training to use her staff and her lightsaber at the same time, and maybe that's the purpose of the stick that she has in her other hand. She could also be throwing the lightsaber to someone, but from the training droid, I think she's just doing that, training or just, chopping some wood. Then finally, we see Kylo Ren, his TIE Interceptor, his new ship, has landed and he's igniting his lightsaber, walking towards the camera. The man is on a mission, and I don't really know what that mission is or where he's headed to, but it looks pretty epic. We hear Palpatine's voice finally, or someone imitating Palpatine. I don't really think this is actually Palpatine because I have a really good ear for Ian McDermott's voice, and this sounds like just someone imitating his voice, so maybe someone who's possessed by him. The voice says, "Your journey," then dramatically pausing as we enter the next scene where we have Kylo and Rey fighting on the Death Star. We can clearly see the remnants on the ocean scattered throughout the planet in the background. A piece here and a piece there, it's a piece all over. Rey seems to be fighting more on the offense here, much more of an aggressive style, kind of like Anakin's, which is cool to see. Palpatine's voice then says, "Near its end," as the screen goes black and we hear wind chimes, Vader's breathing, and if you slow it down to 75 times the speed, 0.75 times the speed, I should say, you'll hear a very creepy, faint whisper of a voice. Now, you can watch my live stream of my reaction to the trailer for the first time, and my reaction actually hearing this voice for the first time, it freaked out quite a bit. And, for over an hour, we were all sitting there with over 5,000 of you who joined, trying to figure out what this voice was and all the other little details and Easter eggs in this trailer. So go check that out if you haven't. 0.75. I'm going to put it to 143. Let's see if you all are pulling my leg or not.
It's him.
Holy shh! Now I've narrowed the voice down to two things. It could either be Anakin saying, "I hate you," or it's someone saying, "I destroyed him," or someone saying they destroyed something. I don't know who it is, but I know it sounds like a man, at least. It could be Kylo, could be Vader, Anakin, someone else. It's difficult to really know who is speaking. Now, I don't think my ears are playing tricks on me since we all heard it in the live stream, but I'm wondering who or what this voice is and what they're saying. If you know, or you think you know, please join in the discovery of this down below in the comments right now. With Vader's breathing, it could very well be him, but it could also be referring to either Kylo Ren or Rey. As we know, Vader has always said that he destroyed Anakin Skywalker, and Kylo Ren said that he destroyed Ben because he was weak. Now, the possessed person who sounds like Palpatine is talking about a journey, and I think the journey would be more akin to Anakin, seeing as how it's really all about him. As George Lucas has always said, Star Wars is solely about Anakin Skywalker as he is the chosen one. Luke was never the chosen one, and George was asked this in an interview once. He said Luke was merely the catalyst to bringing Anakin out of Vader, but he was never the chosen one. Anakin is and always will be. Now, we know Disney is in charge now, and they could shift some things around, but I highly doubt they'll do that, and I think this because George, I assume, would have had some clause in his contract saying, you can't change around my characters, or at least I'd hope. The next scene from the darkness is, of course, the now infamous Sith Rey scene. This scene gives me goosebumps. It was pretty freaky. She looks really dead in the face. She looks gaunt, and she looks like a drone. She's like just soulless, just staring with no emotion. There's a weird ring on her left hand finger. She could be a clone, she could be possessed by Palpatine, or it could be a vision. Now, the reason I think it could be a vision is because if we look in the far right corner and match it to when she moves, we see, as she moves her right arm out, the shadow or reflection on the right moves in sync. Literally frame by frame. I think it's just a dark side cave showing her a vision of something, or Palpatine is manipulating her mind to see something, who knows. Now, a lot of you in the chat brought this to my attention, and then once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. If we look in the right-hand corner, it kind of looks like a face with, like a nose, Palpatine's style of nose, a perfect nose, and, an eye, an indent for an eye cavity. It's just a little bit freaky. It could just be something that we're making up, kind of like when we look at clouds, we see faces or whatever. But it's just something that's there. It just kind of adds to it, I think. The lightsaber looks like a lightsaber pike that the Jedi Temple Guards used. It's also looking like Asajj Ventress's lightsaber a little bit. Although hers were curved, they have some similarities here. The ring to me possesses an interesting thing. It could be Snoke's ring. Is it possibly that's how Palpatine is controlling people? Is this how he controlled Snoke? Is this how he'll control Rey? We know Snoke had another apprentice in canon. This was mentioned in text. So could this be her evil dark side twin? Could Rey be the clone I thought she was? If you remember, my Rey is a clone theory, I kind of went into detail about how Rey could be a clone because of that whole mirror scene that she saw in the Darkside Cave, where we saw thousands and tens of thousands of her, and if she's really seeing herself, well, which one is her? If there's so many of her, which one? And if, of all those Reys, one of them has got to be evil. Or it's just a vision, who knows? Has she been split in two, possibly? One side of light and one side of dark. Now, I think it's either Palpatine possessing her, or it's just her dark vision, a dream almost, and it wouldn't be the first time that we see this in Star Wars, as you all know. And there we conclude the trailer with the beautiful blue Star Wars logo panning out and the Rise of Skywalker title being revealed once again. This will conclude the Skywalker saga, it will conclude Star Wars as we know it, and then from here on we'll be getting other things that, of course, are of interest to us, such as the Obi-Wan series, the Mandalorian, and so on and so forth, all the other things that they'll be giving us, which hopefully will be just as awesome as Star Wars in general. I hope you enjoyed this breakdown. Please let me know if there's something that I missed. What do you think Rey's ring is about? What do you think the voice says, the little creepy voice at the end of Palpatine's speech there, or his sentence? What do you think about this trailer in general? Are you hyped, or are you just not excited? I hope you're ready for this movie. I think it's going to be fantastic. I think it's going to be sick. I'm hopeful, and I'm excited for it, so it just makes it more fun. Hope you have an awesome rest of your day. Please leave a like on this breakdown if you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you in the next video. Until then, remember, the Force will be with you, always.
Now, fulfill